All right. So today we're going to be talking about a touchy subject. I wanted to start with the most inflammatory post, I guess I could. So the top 5 things that your breastfeeding wife is doing wrong. And I'm saying this out of a place of love. I just wanted to grab you guys' attention to be able to get you this information. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Dr. Moser. I do a lot of functional medicine work. I am a chiropractor. That's my professional training. But what we've seen a lot of this year is a lot of infertility cases that have come from being infertile to dealing with having a new child. So we get a lot of questions with newborn moms. Now that I have a kid, how can I make sure I'm getting the best breast milk possible for my baby so that way it doesn't have colic, it's not fussy, doesn't have any digestive complaints, and we have the healthiest baby possible. So that's what we're going to go over. So we also brought in a new addition into the world. Sage was born on October 21st. We got a new baby girl that is only about 2 weeks old now. So this information just became even more relevant than where it was before, because this isn't just for you or for my patients. This is for my wife. This is for friends who may be breastfeeding currently, or maybe you're about to have your first child. So these tips are able to be used across the board. Now, obviously, this is designed for women who are breastfeeding. If you're doing anything with formula, this video isn't necessarily for you, but I will preface by saying if for whatever reason you can't get your milk supply to start going, the best replacement for milk supply is going to be this brand called Holle. It's Holle, and it's going to be your goat milk formula. It's the most similar to breast milk. It doesn't have any cow products or anything in it. Very few lactose molecules in that because it's not cow's milk. So you'll have a nice, happy, healthy baby. Still be able to make your milestones here too. So let's jump into this. So number one thing here, I'll make sure I have all my boxes going here. So for those of you who are on, go ahead and tell me where you guys are watching from. And tell me what you think your first or the first mistake women make whenever it comes to breastfeeding. Leave it in the comment box for me, and I'm going to get started. So the number one thing that women do when it comes to breastfeeding is probably why some women are watching this video right now. They stress themselves out. It's the number one thing that women will do. They're stressed out by the expectations of what they're supposed to have, how much milk they're supposed to have, how long they're supposed to feed. Am I supposed to burp for this long? How many hours am I supposed to sleep? How many hours is my baby supposed to sleep? It's a constant amount of stress on newborn moms. It's another reason why I want to do this video, is because you just went through, or you may have just gone through, one of the most amazing things in the world. 9 months of just perfect production of a baby, and now you have it, and you're like, okay, now I have to tune into my man mind, or my woman mind basically, and figure out, how do I keep this baby alive? So it's a lot of pressure on you. So if I can give you these tips and you can apply it into your life and into your breastfeeding regimen, then it helps to eliminate some of the stress, and it makes a stronger relationship for you and your husband, you or your spouse, and it makes for, again, a really nice, healthy baby. Because if you're stressed out, it's going to raise cortisol. If you haven't seen any of my videos on stress by now, I don't know where you've been, but cortisol is going to pass over into the breast milk too, and you're going to have a cortisol-driven baby. Cortisol is going to make baby angry, fussy, irritable, and keep it up all the time, which is then going to lead to you being more stressed out, which means more cortisol production, which means it's just this vicious feedback loop, feeding the baby stress after stress after stress. We don't want that, okay? So stop stressing out. Stop allowing people to stress you out. Stop allowing family members or friends or anybody who has their own 2 cents to throw into the mix. Tell them, thanks, but no thanks. I appreciate what you're trying to do for me. However, my baby is different than your baby is. And I'm the mom, or, she's the mom. You need to figure out what's right for you and what's right for the baby. So number one thing is stop stressing out. Otherwise, baby's going to feel it. Your milk supply is going to dry up there as well, and you're not going to have a good experience with your child. Okay? What else do we have here? All right. So stress is also going to lead to lack of sleep. So you're already going to be dropped down quite a bit whenever it comes to sleep, especially when your babies are doing those cluster feeds at like 2, 4, 6 weeks, etc. When that baby's cluster feeding, you're getting a very low amount of sleep. So make sure, moms, that you're taking time out of the day or out of the night that you can actually get some sleep. If you have 2 kids and you have a nap schedule going, try to nap or get a little bit of a rest. Get horizontal while that one child is down, and just let the newborn sleep on you and try to get a couple hours of sleep. If you don't, again, your milk supply is going to dry out. It's going to stress you out further, and it's going to lead into all kinds of other problems further down the line. So make sure you're making time for yourself. Okay? All right. Next thing. This is, maybe it's controversial. I don't know. At this point, I get in a lot of arguments. I know my wife gets in a lot of arguments with this. So I wanted to bring out some stats on this as well. But food, what you eat is what's going to be going into your breast milk. Okay, really what you are able to break down and assimilate from your food goes in your breast milk, but that's a different topic for a different day. If you're eating terrible food, you're feeding your baby terrible food. If you're feeding your body terrible food, you're creating terrible health. If you're feeding your baby terrible food, you're creating terrible health. There is a lot of pressure, not just through pregnancy, but the fourth trimester basically, on how to properly eat and what to avoid. Because Lord knows it's one of the most stressful things in the world when mom's trying to figure out, what did I just eat? Baby's fussy now. What happened? I don't know what this is. You start getting inside of your own head. You start stressing out. And again, that leads to that first thing we talked about, which is the stress. So I'm going to go over some of the top things just as a blanket to avoid, not even just for breastfeeding, but just in general. If you want to be healthy, this is what you want to avoid. Number one thing is going to be gluten. All right, we want to try to be gluten-free, 100% gluten-free. Why? Gluten is a known allergen, okay? It is. There are babies that are born with celiacs that cannot break down wheat, and you don't want to figure out that your baby has a gluten allergy by feeding yourself gluten, feeding the baby has a reaction. Gluten serves no purpose in your diet. Really, again, whether you're breastfeeding or not, it's going to cause inflammation to you. It's going to cause inflammation to your gut lining, and if that goes across into the baby, it's going to cause inflammation into the baby's gut lining as well because of the molecule gliadin. I know that there's different regions of the world where you're born from that you have a higher risk of having an allergy or having a reaction to gluten. I know if you're Irish and you're out in that way and over there, you can have a really, really high prevalence of gluten intolerance. So again, it serves no purpose for your body, for your baby, so just cut that out. Let that be the first thing, cut out. Then you say, well, what do you eat? Well, stop eating breads. Eat things with actual nutrients in them. So eat your meats, your veggies, your fruits. Get those healthy things in so that way your body can be healthy. The baby can be healthy. Again, this is all about making this really easy for you, even though this might be information you might not want to necessarily hear. All right, what else? Dairy. Oh my gosh, dairy. Dairy. I don't think there's enough that I can talk about on dairy. Dairy will absolutely crush your baby. Absolutely, hands down, crush your baby. Gives the baby ear infections, makes you inflamed, which gives inflamed milk to baby, which makes baby fuss more, which makes baby gassy more, which means you go back to the first one, which is stress out. A lot of moms come to me like, I can't figure out what's making my baby fussy. First thing I ask really across the board with any condition you're coming to me with, what have you been eating? Not just that day, but a couple days prior. If you're eating these foods, it's not just an anaphylactic reaction that we're trying to avoid, it's a delayed hypersensitivity. So the ones that happen, in the future, 24, 48, 72 hours after you consume the food. It can sometimes take that long for that food to get out of your body. All right, so even if you cheat once, twice a week, that can extend to be constantly inflamed the entire week. So it's really important to know that. Dairy is by far, again, serves zero purpose at all. If somebody tells you that you need to get calcium in, then smack that person upside the head. Get some leafy greens in. Get some healthy vegetables. Get calcium in a normal freaking way. And then the baby will still be totally fine. Even again, going off of, formula fed. If you feed your baby dairy or soy formula, you are setting your baby up for failure later on in life. I'm promising you this. I promise you. If you have a baby that is fussy right now and you're eating dairy, cut it out and you can pay me $1 million in sleep. Okay? Because this is so important to avoid. Not just now, but in the future as well. Dairy serves zero purpose. Zero purpose in the diet. I'm not gonna waver from that whatsoever. Trust me, you will notice a massive, massive change. We did just notice one in our child or our children, but every single mom that I work with, when I tell them to remove dairy, it makes a world of difference. And I want that for you. Just avoid it. Cut out the cheese, the sour creams, all that extra crap that doesn't need to be in your diet. Cut it out. You have a brand new baby. All right. Also, 1 in 10 children, this is stats now, 1 in 10 children have reactions to milk anyways. So they'll be dealing with lactose issues. So again, just throwing it out there, 1 in 10 children, do you really want to roll the dice? No. Again, it serves no purpose anyways. Even if you don't have a lactose intolerant child or some other type of reaction like that, it's still inflammatory. Inflammation will cause a fussy baby, just like inflammation causes a fussy adult. It's the same thing. They're just littler. So the more inflammation that we feel, then we give it to that baby, that tiny little body is going to be so much more inflamed. It's going to take so much longer for you to be able to get that inflammation out of the body because it's the baby. All right? They have an immature digestive system, immature liver. We have to make sure we're giving them what they need and making sure that it's as healthy as possible. Okay? Soy. Avoid it. Soy lecithin. Soy protein, soy milk, soy anything. Soy is gone. It's another one of those ones that has a high prevalence of anaphylactic allergies, where you can have the swelling of the lips and the face, but you can also get hives, rashes, eczema, all that other stuff from soy being involved in diet. So cut it out. Again, serves no purpose. Okay? All right, junk food. I already told you, you're putting junk in your body, you're going to have a junk kid. You put junk in your body, you're going to have a junk kid. I don't care what your doctor says. Your doctor's an idiot if they think that you're feeding your baby healthy food by giving them McDonald's through your breast milk. Whether you pay for it now or later, you're going to have a sick kid. Okay? And if they come to me years down the line, they're like, how did I get so sick? And I'm like, well, Jane Doe over here decided to eat terrible food while she was breastfeeding you, and so now you have all these digestive complaints. Sorry. Should have listened to the video. Okay? Lack of nutrients. Moms, you will lose the baby weight. I promise you, you will lose the baby weight. Do not starve yourself. A lot of moms want to get back to their baby weight in a month after being pregnant. Okay? There are, I think Megan was telling me, I think Paige Hathaway was getting hated on all over social media because she didn't have her incredibly shredded physique that she had pre-pregnancy, immediately post-pregnancy. They basically fat-shamed her. What? No. Again, going back to the stress is the first one. Cut that crap out of it. If you're getting stressed really through social media or through friends, family, etc., cut them out. They don't need to be a part of your life, especially during this crucial time when you're trying to raise a kid. Make sure you're getting proper nutrients in. You only need about 500 calories extra a day to be able to produce enough breast milk to feed a child. So don't go and eat double. If they're like, oh, you have to eat for 2. What's that mean? 4,000 calories a day? No, don't do that. You'll be fine. Make plenty of breast milk. If you see it diminish some, there are ways to try to reactivate. And really, it's just throwing another meal, throwing some protein for you, throwing a shake, get some more milk in there so that way you can feed your baby. Really simple. And again, talking about protein, stay away from whey protein. Okay? Got it? All right. Alcohol. This one might be a little bit of a touchy subject. So some people will go 9 months and they won't drink. And they have a baby and then they drink. And then we figure out, okay, baby might be fussy because of alcohol. Well, babies have a really difficult time, again, with an immature liver, with detoxing the stuff out of their body. So if you drink, okay, even if you have just a glass of wine, it could take about 3 hours for you to process that, or your body to process through that. So if you wanted to enjoy a glass of wine, have a glass of wine, and then if you want to feed, 2-3 hours later, you can. Just try to wait a little bit longer until the baby's liver is better developed. I'm not telling moms to go and drink their faces off or anything. Trust me, I'm not doing that. But if you're like, oh my gosh, I just need to have a glass, it's not going to kill the baby. It's just going to make it fuss a little bit, and the liver is going to be a little bit more bogged down. You're throwing toxins into a baby, whether it's clean crafted wine or your typical what the heck is that wine? It was Boone's Farm, sugar wine. All right, again, sugar is going to cause inflammation in the baby too. So remember that it takes about 3 hours for you to process through 1 glass of wine or 1 alcoholic beverage before you can basically breastfeed that baby without having any type of effect. Now I know there are people out there that'll say if you can find your nipple, you're good to feed your kid. That's true further down the line after baby's liver is a little bit more mature. But again, in the very initial stages, we want to be as sensitive as possible to the baby's needs, and then you'll be able to tell too. Like if I breastfed my baby and I had 2 drinks or 3 drinks that night, did said baby get fussy that night? No? Then awesome. My liver did a great job of clearing out the toxins from the liver, and that is my testament. Now, if you're a heavier individual, you're supposedly able to metabolize through the alcohol quicker, so you can feed a little bit faster. But if you're a skinnier person, it stays with you a little bit longer. Okay? And again, that's just based off research. Good. All right. Latching. Another thing. Latching is huge. So we move from the nutrient side of things and the alcohol side of things. Now we're talking about latching. So latching is huge. This one is actually more personal to like with our child Sage. So she sleeps like a freaking rock. She's phenomenal with that. I can drop a bomb right next to her and she might just throw her arms out real quick and then just calm back down and go back to sleep. She's amazing. But what gets tricky is waking her butt up to feed her, right? So if it's in the middle of the night, she gets all fussy because she can't find where to latch and she doesn't get a proper latch. If that happens and you're hearing, and Megan can tell you more about it, but if you're hearing certain clicking sounds or if you look down and they're not properly latched and they're breathing in air, that's going to lead to more hiccups. That's going to lead to more gas. It's going to lead to more colic. So that's another one to make sure the baby is latching properly. Train them during the day. Make sure you're looking down and making sure the baby's mouth is positioned perfectly to the latch so that way you have proper milk flow going to the baby. Then also make sure you burp the baby afterwards so that way baby's not also having bubbles in their gut. Nobody wants bubble guts. All right? Now, through all of this, again, I'm trying to make this as short and sweet and simple as possible. If through all of this you're like, I don't even know what to do, you're more than welcome to schedule a 15-minute call with me. It's free 15-minute call. The most I would do with a pregnant woman or a breastfeeding woman is basically take care of just basic stuff with the gut, make sure the gut microbiome is healthy, give them, postnatals, and then you could coach them on what to eat, diet, etc. But really, if you want to get down to the bottom of it, you're like, what can I test? Do a food sensitivity test or food reaction test. That allows you to know that if you have a reaction to a certain food and you're eating it and then you're breastfeeding your baby's going to get that same immune system. It's going to have those same antibodies. So if you're like, I don't know what foods to avoid, just run this test. The food sensitivity test will give you all of the information that you need post-pregnancy to make sure that what you're eating is not going to cause inflammation not just in the baby, but also in you. So again, we're talking about that weight coming off. If you're eating foods that are inflammatory to you, then you're going to have excess weight that stays on you. So just some pretty important stuff to know, but if you're going to test anything post-pregnancy, go with a food sensitivity test. Now, if you've been adjusted, you've run a food sensitivity test, and you're like, you know what, there's some things I can't avoid or I'm not going to avoid, or baby's still fussy right now, what can I do? There's a couple of things that I suggest for new moms to have really on hand. Number one is going to be an herb called Albizia. Albizia is a liquid tincture. It's strong. You only need a teeny tiny bit, and it's kind of like an anti-inflammatory for baby's belly. It soothes things very, very quickly, but you need just a minute amount. With liquid tinctures, it burns a little bit more. Babies don't typically like it as much. And what you can find is just over the counter. The Albizia you can get from us. But if you go look over the counter, gripe water, GRIPE water is great to use after 2 weeks or so of age. The serving sizes and doses are on the back of that. Helps to soothe the baby almost instantly as well. So if baby does have a problem with latching, or you're still trying to train them, you're still trying to cut certain foods out and baby's just fussy, it's always good to just have a bottle of gripe water on hand. So that way you're able to give the baby a little bit as needed, calm down the belly, have proper bowel movements, but know that it will cause more stool to come out. So you're going to have more dirty diapers, which is fine. You signed up for it. Okay? So that's a little freebie there. Gripe water is great to have. The other thing here too is kind of like a little wrap up here. All right? With New moms, okay? We talked about the first thing being stress, okay? Stress is massively huge. If you're a husband and you're watching this, or maybe you're a wife and you're like, no, my husband needs to watch this. This little 2-minute blip right here is going to be the most important thing for you guys to know, all right? If you're a new mom, you need to have a husband that's 100% supportive and not going to be a patrol Nazi to you. I even fall victim to this sometimes as well because of my background. I know a lot of stuff, and sometimes I put on my doctor hat when I'm supposed to put on my husband hat, and it causes stress, right? So if you're a husband and you're a Google warrior and you're on, Google, you're trying to figure out what causes what's this, what's that, you're going to stress your wife out so much. So don't do that. Support her, nurture her. This is a hard freaking job. The pregnancy was hard enough. Afterwards is, I would probably say, even harder. Now, obviously, I wasn't the one going through the pregnancy, so maybe I could be wrong on that. But the amount of stress that comes after with keeping a little baby alive, the husbands feel some of that too, but the wives are going to be the ultimate ones who are going to be taking care of and nurturing this child. So husbands, be as supportive as possible. Get her extra water if she needs it. Don't force her to. Don't come down on her and say, did you take your postnatals? Did you take this? Did you take that? Did you remember this? Did you have your tea? Did you have this? Calm it down. Be there for your wife or your spouse if you're not married. Hopefully it's your wife. And just be supportive. Be there. Be happy. You just brought a baby into this world. So I tried to make this video as quick as possible. It might be some blips in the video. Hopefully the quality is pretty good. It said my internet was a little bit slow to start. If it is, then I will reshoot this video because this information is that important. On top of that, starting next week, we're going to be doing a 14-day holiday challenge. So if you haven't reached out yet, you haven't gotten your detox kit, call the office, 412-828-6000, or just direct message me here, and we'll get you a kit. The winner is going to get a free adrenal stress profile, as well as a test read, which is about a $500 value when you combine the two of them. And it's basically going to allow you to accelerate your health into the holidays and be as stress-free as possible. So thank you all for tuning into this video. If you liked it, you found it useful, please share it so that way we can get this information out there. Thanks, everyone.